What's up? It is E Sports Live on this Tuesday. Glad to have everybody along talking NFL draft this morning because an NFL draft rumor is starting to really change the way the top of this month's draft might take shape. So we'll discuss all of it with the Houston Texans losing out on the number one overall pick in the last week of the NFL season and now having the second pick behind the Panthers, who traded with Chicago. Now all of a sudden, the Texans might not take a quarterback in number two. And we're hearing these reports coming from multiple sides of the NFL media. And so we'll discuss everything that could go on with the Houston Texans at number two and how this could play out. So, Zach, we're going to have an interesting conversation this morning about what we think the Texans could and should do at number two. We've got conflicting reports from the two biggest newsbreakers in the NFL, Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport, and then we'll talk about how this could potentially impact the Titans' opportunity to land a quarterback of the future. It is a Tuesday, which means we've got 5 trivia questions here on our Tuesday show to wrap up. So let's get this thing rocking and rolling. Zach, welcome in.
Yep, I'm going racing this weekend. We're going racing this afternoon. NASCAR-themed trivia.
Not good for me.
We'll figure out. It's not good for me either. So, like, I know exactly.
Yeah, but you have control over this. I don't.
I have no control.
You have control. You pick the topic. That's the control that you have.
Well, yeah, but I have no idea about the topic. I know just as much as you do. And I would say, look, we're going to put our chat to the test today.
Yeah, right.
Going around in circles. We got to get 5-0. I mean, that's what we try to do every single Tuesday. So we've got trivia on tap. We got a big show for everybody. As you know, we're getting closer and closer to Kansas City. You know, Kansas City is next Thursday, a week from this Thursday, and that's when a lot of franchises will change the trajectory of what their Super Bowl odds are over the next several years. So a ton of pressure coming down the pike next Thursday at the NFL Draft. We're going to talk about those topics. We are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We'll tweet out segment by segment the YouTube links on our Twitter at ATOZ Sports. That's A to Z Sports. Give us a follow there on Twitter. That's always a great follow. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not already subscribed. Hit that subscribe button. And if you've already subscribed, hit the like button on this video. That helps the algorithm. It gets more people into the community. It gets more people into the chat. And it betters our odds at NASCAR trivia. So we really need you guys to subscribe and to watch the show each and every morning on Facebook. Bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring and caring is sharing, as we say on this show. So share the show around and let's get this party started on a Tuesday.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media as we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Segment by segment links on our Twitter timeline at A to Z Sports, and also hit us up on Instagram and TikTok for more Titans coverage. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for you, and they help you guys out as well and us, and that's Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go to make them a part of your new car buying process. So once again, check them out in Lebanon or at WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Better rates, coverage, and service. Learn more about a health plan for you. FBHP.com/ATOZ. And our new sponsor this month, Aura, who is all about keeping you safe from the dark web. You can use our link, aura.com/ATOZ, for a 2-week free trial to see how many data brokers are sharing your information. That's aura.com/ATOZ, AURA.com/ATOZ. So for the longest time, Zach, we've been thinking quarterback goes at number 1, with the Carolina Panthers moving up with Chicago. Then we've thought, all right, the Houston Texans are not going to continue to roll with Davis Mills as their quarterback. They've got the 2nd overall pick. They're going to take whichever quarterback Carolina didn't, Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, at number 2. And then you think, a team might trade up to 3 with the Cardinals to get ahead of the Colts at 4 for a quarterback. That's what we've believed, I think, since the second week of January when the draft order was set. And then especially after Carolina moved up and got that pick from Chicago, that's what we've felt now for well over a month. But there's been a lot of conversation over the last really 5 days or so that has changed that quite a bit. And that is where we go to Ian Rappaport, who was on the Pat McAfee show, who discussed with them about what all rumors are going on about the Houston Texans and the second overall pick.
Speaking of quarterbacks, though, there's one being talked about a little bit in a different manner. Ty, go ahead, pal.
Yeah, Rap Sheet, in terms of the draft, it was basically from the national semifinals up through like pro day until maybe like a week ago where everyone, CJ Stroud was a slam dunk. Everyone was talking about how good he was, and then Bryce Young kind of came up a little bit. It was always those guys 1A, 1B. Have you heard all of this stuff in terms of his draft stock where they're saying maybe Houston isn't going to take him? He could, slide down and be like the third or fourth or fifth quarterback taken. Like, is his draft stock actually plummeting right now? Have you heard any of that?
Okay, so I have heard all of that. That does seem to be the hot rumor now with, and people ask me, like, is it possible the Texans don't take Stroud at 2? Anything is possible, especially, the Texans and Nick Caserio don't always look at things like everyone else. I just don't believe it. Like, I just don't. Like, from my information, the people that I've spoken with, all of that, like, I would be surprised if the Texans do not take their quarterback of the future at number 2. Most people I speak with believe it's Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and then the others. Small gap, not like a huge gap, but they think it's those two. So if that's the case, if Bryce Young goes 1, Stroud should go 2. So, like, I hear all of this, and I get calls about it all the time because that's the season we're in right now. I just don't really believe it. And if it happens, I will say, like, yeah, I didn't see it, but I don't see it.
So Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network is not necessarily buying what he's heard lately about the Houston Texans and the second overall pick. Now, Zach, let's flip it over and change our channel to ESPN and go to NFL Live. And here's Adam Schefter yesterday as well. So Rappaport on a Monday, and then here's Adam Schefter on a Monday talking about the Texans' second overall pick.
The run on quarterbacks, but let me ask everybody this. What if the run on quarterbacks gets a little bit delayed? What if it's a little bit later to start than people thought? We've been hearing about quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not going to happen, I don't believe, in this draft. And what would happen if and when we've seen Carolina make the move up right away for a quarterback at 1, but we haven't seen anybody trade up to 2 when Houston's open to listening. We haven't seen anybody trade up to number 3 because you know what? I think Indianapolis thinks there's a real chance right now that they could sit right where they are at 4 and get potentially the second quarterback in this draft. There's a chance we might not see a quarterback go at 2 or even 3, and there might not be a team that trades up because the value in that isn't what we thought it would be. So Indianapolis may be sitting there with its pick in the litter, Anthony Richardson or Will Levis or C.J. Stroud. That could happen. That's a possibility right now. These teams right now seem willing to wait. They seem willing to wait. And I don't think we're going to see a quarterback go at 2. And I think all the teams that were talking about trading up to 3 know that. And so they could sit back and wait. And so this great quarterback rush that we've all been expecting might start a little bit later than we all thought. I'm just telling you.
Zach, I didn't think I would say this, but the Pat McAfee show clip was the less dramatic of the two, where you saw, I think, Orlovsky reacting, Spears reacting to Adam Schefter getting a little like octave up in his voice, talking about the second overall pick. Zach, your reaction?
Well, a lot to unpack there.
Yes,
so
there is a lot.
Let's start with the Texans. The Texans hold the keys to the draft. We all know that. It's not the Panthers anymore. Excuse me. So I think the Texans, whatever they decide, will change the trajectory of the draft. I'm not saying anything new there. I do find it interesting, and I have said this in the last couple of weeks, just based on the history of the NFL draft, quarterbacks tend to fall. Now, usually it's not all what you think, right? Crazy stuff happens. So I think I'm a little split between the two clips. My gut honestly believes Rappaport, right? I mean, but Adam Schefter is not saying anything. I agree with Adam Schefter. I don't think 4 quarterbacks will go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sure.
Right?
Now that's the one thing of what Adam Schefter said is like, well, yeah, I mean, the odds of that happening are pretty low.
And here is, I think, the biggest thing that Schefter is stating. Now, he says it in a certain way, but I think the biggest thing that he's saying is we don't know truly the cost of number 2 and number 3. We've talked about the cost of what Arizona wants. We've tried to compare of what San Francisco gave up to get Trey Lance. That was years ago, though. This is 2023. Has inflation gone up, right? Is it a higher price? Is it a higher price because it's a quarterback? Is it a lesser price because there's more quarterbacks? Is it a higher price because the Colts are at 4 and you're trading over the Colts and the Colts want a quarterback? Mm-hmm. Is Adam Schefter hanging out with Jim Irsay too much? We have no idea. So I think all of these things, the price matters, because I stand by the Titans don't need to give up. You know, that's why I was so anti-Lamar Jackson trade, because I still think that's ridiculous, is because what you have to give up to get said player. You've got to give up 2 first-round picks and $200+ million for the Baltimore Ravens to get Lamar Jackson. You're going to have to presumably give up 2 first-round picks and more. Who knows? But it all depends on what the Cardinals are asking. The Texans are not going to trade with the Titans, right? So now you also have to look at the teams that are willing to move up that are quarterback needy. There are not as many, right? The Colts are not going to trade with the Texans. That doesn't make any sense. So you've got 2 AFC South teams. Who are the Texans going to trade with that wants to go over up and take that quarterback? Or are the Texans just going to stick and pick and take the best available player that's not a QB?
Which might be Will Anderson. At this point, Jalen Carter does not seem to be as highly regarded as he might have had or might have been a couple of weeks ago. So let's do that, right? So who could the Texans be waiting for and all that kind of stuff? And let's just ask the audience this question here. Do you think the Texans take a quarterback at 2 overall, or do they pass on a quarterback at number 2 overall? So it's a pretty easy question here. Do the Texans take a quarterback at 2, or do they pass on a quarterback at 2? And then Zach, tell us all about Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com/A to Z is where you need to go. They've got you covered when it comes to your health plan. I switched my health plan in 2022. I carried that over into 2023. 200+ locations across the state of Tennessee. If you're in the state of Tennessee, I highly recommend Farm Bureau Health Plans. Health, dental, and vision. FBHP.com. Quick health assessment. And then you get your quote. Your quote is not necessarily a signed guarantee that you have to take the plan. It's just a quote. Then you make a decision for you and your family if that plan is right for you. It was right for me. I promise you, it's going to be a good rate if you go about it the right way. That's what they pride themselves on. And especially in the state of Tennessee, I got a great rate. I made that decision for myself and my family. You can too. That's FBHP.com/ATOZ.
A to Z Sports on this Tuesday. BetMGM is letting you know that you can continue to win even if you've already signed up with our code ATOZ Sports. That gets you up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. But if you've already been playing with BetMGM and you're ready for playoff season this April and May, then make sure you use that refer a friend invitation to take advantage of all the extra bonus bets you can get, because you get $50 in bonus bets for every friend who signs up with BetMGM with your refer a friend invitation, up to 20 invitations accepted. That's up to $1,000 in bonus bets for your friends joining you on BetMGM. And then they get a $50 bonus bet by signing up with your invitation as well. So everybody wins right there with BetMGM's refer a friend invitation. Zach, I will toss it to you to go back to the chat asking here the question. Do you think the Texans take a QB at 2nd overall or pass on a quarterback at 2nd overall? And this graphic here, the choose your fighter graphic, where you've got Ian Rappaport saying on the Pat McAfee show, saying, I would be surprised if the Texans don't take a quarterback of their future at number 2. And then Adam Schefter on NFL Live saying, I don't think we're going to see a QB at number 2 right there. So, Zach, I'll send you to the chat on that.
Yeah, and look, we got a lot of answers on the chat. Let's start with pass on a QB from Steven. Take from Tighten Up. Yes, they will take a QB from Sam. Right now, I think they'll pass. Take a QB from Brad. Take it 2 from Pistol Ramsey. We'll get to some lunchbox money. Let's just get to it now. How could you see Young number 1 and view others even? Going top D, then trading back could work, or they take D and call Ravens for Lamar. Who knows? There's a lot to unpack there. I'll start that and come back to it. Now I kind of wish that I had come back to it. But look, fair lunch box money from Andre that usually gives us some good comments. Rob says take. Top Tier says take. Magic Maggle says take. Sean Gill says take. Deshaun Washington says QB. Ronnie says QB. John says QB. They'll take a QB at 2 from Alex. Take a QB from Bastion at 85 right there. Borkington says take. Pass and trade up from 12. Who picks 12?
Houston,
right, because of the previous trades. So that would be interesting because you're right. They've got that's good.
I believe that's the Browns selection for Deshaun Watson.
Right. They'll take a QB from Kenneth. They'll take AR from Ferris right there. Matt says pass. Take a QB from Titans Kyle. Taking from Jody. Yes, CJ Stroud will be a Texans. Let's see here. Ken says the way Zach has been talking about our quarterback situation kind of makes me feel like we're supposed to be in quarterback purgatory for at least 2 more seasons. No, that would be the worst case scenario, but something has to happen with the quarterback situation over the next 2 years because the starting quarterback is only under contract for the first year. They're taking a quarterback, all smoke screens from Caleb. Austin, where do you sit on this question?
So here's how I am breaking this down, because really the last week is when we've started seeing and hearing and going to mock drafts and seeing where, what if the Texans don't take a quarterback? What if they go with Will Anderson? How does that change things up? And then Adam Schefter in that video clip said, why hasn't anybody traded up to number 2 with the Texans if the Texans are open to listen? I think this is a big game being played by the Houston Texans where they've kind of let everybody fall asleep a little bit with the second overall pick, expecting the Texans to take a second overall pick. And now they're floating it out there as the draft gets closer. They're floating it out there. It's like, yeah, well, maybe it's not going to be, CJ Stroud automatically at number 2. Maybe we want to take somebody else, or maybe we are open to trading back. I think that they're doing that to see what type of offer they can get on draft day.
Who would trade with them?
I think the Raiders could trade with them. I don't think there's a lot of good options.
No. Let's break this down.
No.
You say that there's not a lot of good options.
Hold on.
I don't think there's an option.
Right. I think it's a tough ask. I think the Texans that's why I think they're trying to wait until the 11th hour to do this, because they're trying to see who they can get to jump up. Like,
there's not anybody.
Zach,
we just established that.
Zach, I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying, that there's not a trade partner that makes
that's not a point to make.
No,
that's what I'm
trying
Why
to diagnose.
Are they doing that?
Zach, I'm trying to diagnose what I think the Texans are doing. I think the Texans are sitting there saying the worst case scenario for the Texans is to sit at number 2 and take a quarterback. That's the worst case scenario. So I think they're trying to float some stuff out there to see if they can get something to stick, to see if they can fall back a little bit, to get somebody to bite on the bait and come up and take 2. That's what I'm saying here. Like, you're jumping down my throat.
No, because that doesn't, I adamantly disagree that is what they're trying to do, because that doesn't make any sense.
Okay. What makes sense in your mind?
There is no team that would do that.
Zach, I agree.
I think but here's where I disagree with you. No. You brought it up. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying is, what I think is it's between a quarterback or not quarterback. I don't think trade is involved for the Texans.
Okay.
Trade can't be involved. There's not a team to trade.
You don't know that there's not a team to trade until you try to float it out there and see what happens.
Give me some teams that would trade.
I think you're looking at, Seattle, I don't think would do it. I think the Raiders are somebody that would maybe trade up for Anthony Richardson or Will Levis, not the CJ Stroud thing. The Titans and Texans can't trade. And so again, I don't think that's not the point though. Like the Lions, maybe, as I've seen Michael Snyder, I'm not saying that I expect it to happen. I'm saying the Texans are just throwing it out there to see if something bites.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think that that's the case. I think it's either they are seriously going to draft a quarterback or they're seriously not going to draft a quarterback. I think it's one of two.
Yeah, but Zach, if they're serious about not drafting a quarterback, then they should do what they can to learn what the trade value is. That is the point that I'm trying to make. Does that make sense?
There's nobody out there.
Zach, let me just say this directly to you. If the Texans are serious about not taking a quarterback, then it is their job to do the due diligence to find out what that trade option might look like. It doesn't mean they have to accept it. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but it's their job to try to float some stuff around there to see what comes up of it.
Right.
If nothing happens,
the team is going to draft
that's
or
fine,
trade
dude.
is to
I don't
draft
care
a
what you're
quarterback.
saying about that. That's like
I know,
said
but it
earlier,
doesn't make logical sense. That's my
It does
point.
make logical sense.
No,
Zach,
no, it doesn't because there's not another team.
Zach, the process makes logical sense. Why would it would be stupid and it would be stubborn as hell, which you were being here, if the
you're saying something that's stupid. Honestly, it's not me being stubborn.
No,
there's not a team that would trade.
You don't know that unless you ask.
They're not asking.
Yes, what are you talking about?
They're floating around that they couldn't take. They may not take a quarterback.
Yeah.
Again, that's the point. It's between taking a quarterback or not taking a quarterback. Listen to, we can replay both of the videos.
Yeah, let's play Adam Schefter, right? Let's play Adam Schefter here about the Texans, where he does mention that the Texans are opening to trade. That Zach must have missed the first time.
The run on quarterbacks, but let me ask everybody this. What if the run on quarterbacks gets a little bit delayed? What if it's a little bit later to start than people thought? We've been hearing about quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not going to happen, I don't believe, in this draft. And what would happen if and when we've seen Carolina make the move up right away for a quarterback at 1, but we haven't seen anybody trade up to 2 when Houston's open to listening. We haven't seen anybody trade up to number 3 because you know what? I think Indianapolis thinks there's a real chance right now that they could sit right where they are at 4 and get potentially the second quarterback in this draft. There's a chance we might not see a quarterback go at 2 or even 3, and there might not be a team that trades up because the value in that isn't what we thought it would be. So Indianapolis may be sitting there with its pick of the litter, Anthony Richardson or Will Levis or CJ Stroud. That could happen. That's a possibility right now. These teams right now seem willing to wait. They seem willing to wait. And I don't think we're going to see a quarterback go at 2. And I think all the teams that were talking about trading up to 3 know that. And so they could sit back and wait. And so this great quarterback rush that we've all been expecting might start a little bit later than we all thought. I'm just telling you.
So, yeah, I mean, the Texans could, again, my entire point.
It's not about trading for 2. It's about whether they're going to take a quarterback or not take a quarterback.
Right.
That is the point.
But that was my whole, you asked me a question and I answered by saying, I think
you started talking about all of the teams that would be willing to, open to hearing for trade for 2 is dumb because, of course, you're open listening, but nobody's talking.
Zach, do you know the reason why
trading up? Nobody's going to trade up for a quarterback at 2 because the Texans are going. They don't have any trade suitors.
Zach, the reason why I was listing teams that could trade for 2 is because you asked me to list the potential trade partners
because
for
of
2.
what it started. Again, what cued me was you saying that the Texans could trade the pick away. And I don't believe that will ever happen.
I don't.
It's not like zero possibility.
Right.
I think it's quarterback or not. So
yeah,
what do you
usually,
think?
yeah,
Is
usually
it going to be quarterback or not?
Yeah, every draft pick is quarterback or not, right? But my whole point is that why have we not heard this about the Texans until last week? Is because what I think the Texans are doing throughout this process is that they are now starting to float out that what if we don't take a quarterback at 2 and you have the opportunity to come up to 2 and get whichever quarterback you want, CJ Stroud, Richardson, Levis, whatever, and they're trying to see what can happen. Because
and
if
I'm just saying there are not teams that are suitable.
I know that,
trade
but
up
they're
to
at least
2.
going to try to find that out factually themselves. Like they're going to do the due diligence on that and try to see it. And if they don't find what they want, then the
There's
worst
not
case,
a team.
that's fine. But they have to at least do the homework to find out and confirm that.
But that's why I'm disagreeing with your philosophy. I believe that they are just mulling over quarterback or not quarterback.
All right,
Long-term, best player available at 2 or best quarterback available at 2. That's what I believe that they're doing. I don't think it's more than that. I don't. I think it's pretty simplistic. So what do you think happens with the Texans? Let's go back to the question.
I think the Texans are going to take a quarterback at number 2. That's all. I think they're trying to float out there. I don't think they're necessarily in love with CJ Stroud. I don't think they're really in love with the others, but I think at the end of the day, they're going to take a quarterback at number 2, just because I think they're more open to the 3 quarterbacks than they are to any of the one of the 3 quarterbacks. So that because they have 12, I think they're open to seeing how it goes. But I think at the end of the day, nothing's going to materialize and they'll end up taking a quarterback at number 2 overall. That's how I feel about it.
Do you think so? I'm sticking pick at 2. I've been saying that for the last 10 minutes. They're going to pick at 2. Who they're going to pick is, I think, intriguing. Is there a possibility in your mind, and this could be a bigger topic, so we won't dive into it as much, but you do think that there's a possibility where they take possibly Anthony Richardson or Will Levis over CJ Stroud?
No, I don't. I think the gamble would be too big. To CJ Stroud is the safest of these 3 options for the Texans. I just don't think they would afford to do that. I think it's CJ Stroud or no quarterback. I think the public perception would roast them if they took a quarterback other than CJ Stroud at 2.
Don't you think that the public perception would roast them if they took a non-quarterback? I think that would be more roastable.
Not to the same extent.
They just fell in love with a guy, right? Like that's the justification of taking another quarterback besides CJ Stroud is they fell in love with Anthony Richardson's upside. Is that, oh my gosh, his ceiling's so high. This is a long path. We're going to give him some 3 years to figure it out. Maybe that's the justification. They stick and pick at 2, and I think that they are thinking about not taking a quarterback, but I think at the end they select CJ Stroud, and the draft really starts with Arizona, in which they can trade away to other teams. They can trade because they're using, honestly, the Colts against everybody, right? Because the Colts need a quarterback, and the Cardinals are at 3, the Colts are at 4. Now you can start. I think that's why the Titans have come into this picture, because an NFC team trading with an AFC team to prevent another AFC team from taking a quarterback makes logical sense. An AFC team trading with another AFC divisional opponent makes 0 sense.
All right, so we're getting into this. Let's get to the chat because we haven't got to as many comments as we probably should have earlier on. Ian Rappaport on Pat McAfee says that he would be surprised if the Texans don't take a quarterback at number 2. And Adam Schefter on NFL Live saying that he does not think they're going to see a quarterback at number 2 from the Houston Texans. So, Zach, I'll send you back to the chat here in a second to get some of these comments. But first, let me tell you guys about our great sponsor, Aura, who just joined the show this month. Anyone can find anything on the internet, including your full name, personal email, home address, phone number, even your relatives. I signed up with Aura last week, and they found 30 data brokers who had my info, and they've already successfully removed my info from 22 of them. So how about that? Data brokers profit by selling your information to robocallers, telemarketers, spammers, mailers. And so I'm going to have 22 less data brokers calling me and sending me things in my mailbox that I don't want, or to my email inbox that I don't want either. So our sponsor, Aura, can identify those data brokers who are exposing your information and automatically submit you to opt out of those requests on your behalf, including the junk mail and telemarketing lists. Aura's services also feature VPN, password manager, real-time credit and identity theft monitoring, internet parental controls, and protects your devices from malware. Aura has almost every internet safety tool you'll ever need all inside one app, and let Aura do the hard work to keep you safe online. Sign up now for a free 2-week trial with our link, aura.com/ATOZ. That's aura.com/ATOZ.
A to Z Sports, we are powered by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. They're the king of sports books. They've got the bonus code. They've got you covered right there. And if you use that bonus code, you know the offer right there. It's $1,000 in bonus bets. That's for new users. That's great. Bonus code ATOZ Sports. They're the king of sports book.
All right, A to Z Sports here live on this Tuesday, asking the question, what do you think the Texans do? Now getting to the chat. MB says he thinks the actual teams have info on the Texans, and that's why you aren't seeing teams trade up to number 3 yet. So, Zach, I agree on your point that I don't think teams will trade up to 3 until draft night, because they don't know what the price is going to be, because they don't truly know what that player will be. And if you're the Arizona Cardinals, you want to get the most you possibly can for that 3rd pick. And so if CJ Stroud is the guy who's still sitting there at 3, that might be more valuable than one of the others.
So now let's get into another level of this, because this opens up our previous conversation of, I don't think that the Texans are waiting for a trade, because I don't think anybody's going to trade with them. I don't think they're willing to trade. I don't think that's going to happen. But there is now a philosophy that the Texans don't say a damn thing and shake up the draft and put more pressure on the Colts and the Titans, their 2 division foes, to have only what's first round time clock? 15 minutes, 10 minutes? They've changed it so many times.
10. It's 10. 10
now,
goes to 7.
So here's your philosophy. All right. This is now all kind of coming full circle. Your philosophy is not that the Texans are going to trade. They're not going to trade. There's not a trade suitor. But if the Texans sit there and have mystery around what they're going to do at 2, then the pick is in. They wait till the very last second. The pick is in. They select, in this example, CJ Stroud. Now you have teams scrambling, calling the Cardinals. This is now shaking up the draft, and the Texans, they have their quarterback. So they've just made it hard on probably their 2 divisional opponents, with the Colts and really gone Irsay even crazier than he already is. The Titans calling up. That's where maybe this is the philosophy. It's not the Texans trading. It's what it can do for the 3rd overall pick in the draft.
Sure. I mean, again, I still stand pat that if the Texans
we're past that.
But again, if the Texans
this makes more sense.
Yeah, if the Texans don't want a quarterback, then yeah, they should look to trade it out. But if they want a quarterback, then I think that it was so quiet about the Houston Texans this entire draft process until the last 7 days, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, Adam Schefter's out here on NFL Live going through a 2-minute segment about how it's not going to happen. He doesn't think it's going to happen.
Well, here would be my counter to that, is that the draft was all about the Bears. Then it was all about the Panthers. And then after that, Bryce Young, his stock started to rise, and CJ Stroud's stock started to fall, as it always happens with quarterbacks leading up to the draft. So that the Panthers started to, I think, figure out what they were going to do, right? So now, then what's the next logical step once you figure out who's the number 1 overall pick? Well, who's number 2? Now reporters started to concentrate on who's picking at number 2. That makes sense. At April 18th, a week before the draft, we're talking about the Houston Texans. That's a news timeline, in my opinion.
No, I get, yes, the part about the Bears and the Panthers makes sense, but we always felt that the Texans would scoop up whichever quarterback didn't go number 1, right there at number 2, and now you're starting to hear a lot of noise at that as well. So let's get to this, Zach. Let's ask the question to get the Titans side of things. If the Titans, if the Texans don't take a quarterback, should the Titans trade up or wait? If the Texans don't take a quarterback, should the Titans trade up or should they wait? I think there's some interesting details around this, because if the Texans don't go QB at 2, now you've got 3 quarterbacks available at 3, right? Should the Titans go up and get their person, or should they wait because there are now 3 quarterbacks that could make it easier for them to fall to them? So that's the next side of this conversation. But Zach, tell everybody about Wilson County Hyundai.
Yeah, Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to go to get your next ride. The Palisade, the Sonata, the Elantra, the Santa Fe. Your perfect make and model is right around the corner. Quick trip down I-40, exit 236. That's Wilson County Hyundai. Man, they can hook you up with your perfect ride. Payne Bone and his team, family owned and operated, that dealership. Get behind the wheel and test drive a great vehicle today. I mean, it could be an SUV like the Palisade with 3rd row seating. It could be a 4-door sedan like the Sonata. It could be the Ioniq, which is battery powered. But make sure you check out their inventory at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
And with BetMGM, I said it earlier in the show, you can win and continue to win with the Refer a Friend invitation with BetMGM. You've already signed up with BetMGM with our code ATOZ Sports. Now you want more bonus bets to win off of. You can invite up to 20 friends with your invitation, and you get $50 in bonus bets for every friend that signs up with BetMGM, and they get $50 in bonus bets for signing up with your invitation as well. So check that out in your BetMGM app. The Refer a Friend invitation. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only, new and existing customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligible requirements. Rewards issued in non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire in 7 days. And for problem game of sport, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. Zach, the question now, if the Texans don't go quarterback at 2, should the Titans move up or should they wait? If the Texans don't go quarterback at 2, should the Titans move up with a trade or wait? What's the chat saying?
Titanium Titan says trade up from Fire. Wait there from Aaron. David says wait. Trade up from Steven. Andre says trade up regardless from David. Wait from Jonathan. Trade up from Jay. Trade up from Jake. Trade up from Nathaniel. Wait from Eric. Wait from Deborah. Trade down from Titan Fox. Wait either way. Trade up from Xavier. 100% trade up. Trade up if they believe in Stroud. Trade up from Titans Kyle. Wait from Jody. Malachi says wait. Only for Stroud or Young. And that's kind of the question that we're asking there from Fire. Steven says wait. 11 becomes more valuable. Yes, trade up from John. Titans are not taking a quarterback from Brian. And I think that kind of embodies what the draft is nobody truly knows. You got Tone saying trade up, and let's see, Tighten Up Ohio saying wait and draft a wide receiver, right? Wait 100% from Grim Jim. So a lot of different opinions on this. It definitely shakes things up because you have a better pick of the litter of quarterback if you do trade up from 3, if Houston decides, hey, we're not going to take a quarterback. We're going to go with Will Anderson and move forward, right? What would you do if you're the Titans now, if that ability opened up to you?
Personally, I would wait. I would not move up to 3, right? I would wait. I would try to be more patient. But what I think the Titans would do, I think the Titans there's just so much smoke around the Titans and a quarterback this year that I'm starting to kind of fall into it. Like I'm starting to more believe as we get closer and closer that the Titans might be really targeting seriously one of these quarterbacks.
Yeah, Austin, I'll tell you this. Their situation, as we've kind of discussed, they've done all of their homework. They're now, they're all of their 30-day visit, or the not top 30, but their 30 visit.
Just the 30, just flat, easy 30 visit.
They're taking the quarterbacks. They're going to their pro days. As you have said, they're dividing and conquering to try to go do all. So the Titans are in a situation where they got to have a quarterback. Ryan Tannehill may be their quarterback this year, but not in the future. That ship has sailed with the new general manager. So I do believe that they are targeting a quarterback. I don't know if they will get one, but absolutely they are targeting a quarterback.
Yeah. And so, trade up to 3. No, I don't think that if the Texans don't go QB, then don't trade up to 3.
Would you rather have CJ Stroud than Anthony Richardson or Will Levis, though?
I think because, if we're talking in the hypothetical, and what you're saying is that if the Titans draft Richardson or Levis, then you keep Tannehill for a year and then have that first round quarterback start the following year, right? That's kind of what you've been talking about. I think I would rather the Titans do that than draft CJ Stroud and then roll with him out of the gates. But I don't think trading up is the smartest thing to do still.
You give up too much, and you said exactly what I was going to say, is you let the quarterbacks fall to you, or you may have to trade up a couple of spots, but not all the way to 3. So you're giving up future first-round picks. And you execute your plan with Ryan Tannehill. That's what you do. You execute your developmental plan with Ryan Tannehill. I think you do that regardless. I don't know what the Titans are going to do, but you keep Tannehill on the roster. And Austin, here's why I've been preaching this for so long. Mike Vrabel doesn't want to lose. He hates losing. He doesn't want to tank. This is a bridge to get him a quarterback and not tank. It makes so much sense for a new general manager that doesn't want to lose and a head coach that doesn't want to lose. That's right. Why that's what I believe is what they're trying to do. I don't know what the draft is going to look. I'll be in Kansas City. I'm excited. There will be buzz. I wish it was in Las Vegas or somewhere cooler, but it'll be in Kansas City.
We're in Delaware.
Right. Yeah. It's the what, but I will say this from last year's experience at the draft, and you guys know, right? Even watching from home, like it is a mesmerizing thing is the NFL draft. Nobody can predict some of the things that happen, whether it was the Johnny Manziel drama or the AJ Brown drama, right? Yeah. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I do think there's a couple interesting spots because somebody just asked the question, where'd the comment go? Denise said, who is drafting at 5 or 6? You have the Seattle Seahawks at 5 and you have the Detroit Lions at 6. Both teams believe they have a quarterback for now, but you could absolutely jump on board with either team or both saying, okay, yeah, Geno's fine. Jared Goff's fine. But we're picking top 5 or top 6 because of a trade they made previously. Why not? That's their bonus pick, right? It's like, why not go get a quarterback there for those two teams? So look, there's a lot of, you talk about just the mesmerizing and not really having any clue on what's going to happen is because there are so many teams you could say, yep, they took a quarterback. I get it. That makes sense. And really the only team that shouldn't is the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, here's the caveat to this. There are some stellar defensive players. Like you got 4 quarterbacks, right? We're talking about there's stellar defensive players at the top, including, and there's some mystery around. You've got Jalen Carter, you got Will Anderson Jr., and then you've got the 2 tackles in Paris Johnson Jr. and the guy out of Northwestern. And then we haven't even talked about wide receivers, right? Because the wide receiver class is more your 10s, right? Your 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And once a wide receiver goes off the board, you'll see whether it is in Jigba or
It's going to be JSN.
TCU's
Quentin
Johnson, who I like Quentin Johnson. I do. I watched more Quentin Johnson before TCU was towards the end. I watched him throughout the course of the year because I watched TCU. But I like both of those wide receivers. So there's 4 players, 2 offensive linemen, 2 wide receivers, plus 2 premier defensive players.
There's also some really good corners that could go in that 5.
Exactly. There's 6. So now we're up to 8. We're almost to 11, Austin, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's why you and I are saying you don't trade up because of the cost and who can fall down to you. And you do have a quarterback still on the roster. That quarterback is not good enough, but he's still on the roster where you're not the Texans. The Texans are forced to take, in my opinion, this is my opinion, it may not be the Texans' opinion, but you have got to take a quarterback. You'd be an idiot not to take a quarterback at 2 overall if you're the Houston Texans.
Yeah, because the Texans also have 12. Like, if you're the Texans,
that's why I wasn't with your trade back thing.
I'm not saying 12. Oh God!
But they have 12.
Never mind. All right. So again, in my opinion, I think the Texans taking a quarterback at 2 and then an offensive lineman or a receiver at 12 does the best for that quarterback. Spiral Jackson, who is, I believe, based off of his string of comments, is a Texans fan, saying the Texans do not need a quarterback at 2. Now, Spiral Jackson might be a Davis Mills truther. I don't know how big that fan club might be, but Spiral Jackson is loud about it in the chat this morning. So maybe they don't, but I still feel like CJ Stroud will be the pick at 2 overall.
Real quick, let's get to some lunchbox money. Philip earlier said Texans pass quarterback. I think that they believe if Caleb Williams was in this draft, he'd be rated number 1 overall. So they'd rather do the Sixers plan and trust the process and tank. And maybe Philip is going with the last commenter and saying, that's the philosophy of the Texans, maybe not needing a quarterback. John says Rand has already proven he wants more for less. Drafting Hooker at 11 makes sense because he will be cheap and gives you the 5th-year option. Roll with Tannehill and Willis next season and save the picks. That also throws a big curveball. I would not draft Hendon Hooker at 11 overall. That would be wild, and I would be against that.
I mean, he said more for less in the comment, and that would not be more for less if you take Hooker at 11.
You take advantage of his injured ACL as he's falling down the board. I'm not anti the Titans drafting Hendon Hooker, but I don't think that they should do that.
I think the Titans could draft Hendon Hooker, and I wouldn't be upset about it if it was like
in the second round or the very end of the first.
In the 20s. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, or what did I say yesterday? Maybe 19, something like that. There's a team in those 18 or 19.
I still think that's pretty high. Because I think Will Levis or Richardson, there's too many quarterbacks at the top. That's what Schefter is saying, is that somebody's going to fall. There's just too many quarterbacks. So that means, does Hooker fall further, or does one quarterback fall below Hooker?
No, I think that there could be a quarterback of the 4 that falls. And then somebody's like, ooh, that stinks. That smells bad. Let me just take Hooker and Will Levis keep sliding or something like that. Right?
Right there. W. Callan says 100% chance these quarterbacks fall. So he's saying these quarterbacks fall. The Commanders move up to 5-6 for one of them. We say talk about the Titans in Callan's mind, says trade back, add more picks, build roster, start Tannehill, done. The Commanders are a caveat to all of this, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't have a stable quarterback. I mean, are you going to roll with Sam Howell?
I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this.
On the Commanders? Neither do I.
Well, the Commanders are going through a potential sale, right? Which is going to take time. Does Dan Snyder on his way out just say, you know what? Screw it. 16-2, 16-3. Go get somebody. Good luck with, and thanks for my $6 billion. Like that, I would not be surprised if Dan Snyder did something like that.
I don't think that the contract's done, but
right, it's right because he still has the ability to do it. Is my point.
That would be in the contract if I was buying. You cannot draft a quarterback in the first round. Has to be a defensive player or an offensive lineman. Defensive player, offensive lineman.
But
required.
Again, like it's the owner. Like the owner is still also the GM. You won't want your football people making your football decisions. I just think Dan Snyder.
But the owner can do whatever the hell he wants.
That's true. And Dan Snyder going rogue just because would be a funny way to go out after a disaster of ownership tenure that he's had in Washington.
There you go.
All right, let's get to Tuesday sports trivia. We've got 5 trivia questions coming up here, and we've got one rule: no Googling. Everything else, let's work together and try to go 5-0 this week. Sam and you, Zach, last week went 3-2. So we'll get the Tuesday sports trivia here in a second. But the Bone and Joint Institute, they can help you out if you get hurt in life. Make sure you know where to go to get back on the road to recovery. And that's in Franklin at the Bone and Joint Institute. They have one big campus there right off I-65 and Highway 96. It's beautiful. It looks great. You can do everything in that one building. They don't have to send you to a bunch of different addresses all over town for different steps of the process, all right there. And for your convenience, if you want to have a clinic or rehab facility in a better location for you, they've got that in Brentwood, Nolensville, Thompson Station, and now in West Franklin as well. So check them out, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports. Download the BetMGM app today. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. They are the king of the sports book. You can get in on action, whether it's the NBA playoffs. They've got you covered there. Major League Baseball's rolling right ahead. Even the draft. You could start betting on the draft of what's going to happen. You know, who are the Texans going to draft? We talked a lot about that today. You can make money off of that with BetMGM. New users use that bonus code ATOZ Sports.
All right, Tuesday sports trivia, Zach. We've got 5 questions. Through 2 weeks after our reset, we are 7 out of 10. So we are currently at 70% early on in this. And our goal is to be over 70.5. So we're slightly behind the pace. So we got to go 4-1 this week to keep building on that. So you said it's NASCAR themed. So fingers crossed, no Googling, and let's just hope we've got some big Dale fans here in the chat.
Well, Billy Jones watched NASCAR for 50 years. So
now Billy, I'm glad Billy's on our side.
Keep an eye out for Billy. This is
sure
how I made it.
I called that guy.
A little bit easier for us. This NASCAR trivia is between 2000 and 2009, right? So we're not going to have to go back to 1972 Daytona. I don't know who won.
Honestly, if there's a decade of NASCAR that I know about, it's probably that one.
Right. That's why I said.
Yeah.
I'd set us up not completely for failure. Let's start with this. Which one of these car manufacturers joined the NASCAR Cup series during this decade, which was 2000 to 2009? Nissan, Hyundai, Honda, or Toyota? Which one of these car manufacturers joined the NASCAR Cup series during the decade? Nissan, Hyundai, Honda, or Toyota?
We're getting a couple Toyota. We're getting a lot of Toyotas flying in here.
That's good.
I guess we got a Toyota. Liz says Honda. Jeff says Honda. And then I did see Scott said Dodge, which is not an option. So I think we probably have to go with the Toyota.
You want to lock that in?
Final A to Z Toyota.
Toyota began racing at NASCAR's Cup level in 2007. Kyle Busch became the first driver to win the Cup driving a Toyota, captured the Atlanta 500 race in March 2008. Toyota cars have won 21 races between 2008 and 2009. So, yeah, Toyota. There you go.
Amen hot. 1-0.
Next question. In 2009, veteran driver Mark Martin joined the Hendrick Chevrolet team. Which car number did Martin drive for the 2009 NASCAR Cup season? 7, 25, 5, or 88? So Mark Martin used to drive the Viagra 6. And I knew that because you're a kid. Viagra, it's funny. I remember that. I want to say it's 88, but I don't know. But then you've got Dale Jr. during that time.
Yeah.
He was 8, though, before he was 88.
Yeah. But I can't remember when he switched to 88. I think he might have. So we're talking about 2009?
2009.
We're getting a lot of fives. A lot of fives in here.
Maybe it was 5. Maybe he went from 6 to 5. 5, lock it in.
Yeah, Dustin seems very confident. So let's go to 5, final A to Z.
Mark Martin had a great season in 2009. The veteran driver from Arkansas took home 5 checkered flags total in the number 5 machine.
Boom.
2-0.
Okay, 2-0. I like that.
Let's see here. During this decade, which driver won the most Daytona 500 races? During this decade, 2000 and 2009, which driver won the most Daytona 500 races?
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
Is it the Rainbow Warrior Jeff Gordon?
No, it's not, because he's not an option.
Okay.
Ryan Newman, Jamie McMurray, Kevin Harvick, or Michael Waltrip? Which driver won the most Daytona 500 races in this decade?
Wow. Look, I mean, because we got Jimmy Johnson's and Tony Stewart and before the options came out. So
Ryan Newman, Jamie McMurray, Kevin Harvick, or Michael Waltrip?
I feel like Kevin Harvick. That's
kind of was my gut. It was my gut was either Kevin Harvick or Jamie McMurray.
See, I was thinking either Kevin Harvick or Newman. But I still think it's Harvick. Harvick feels Daytona. We're getting Newmans and Harvicks. I think Harvicks are the more popular answer from the chat. So I think we have to go with Kevin Harvick, final A to Z.
Kevin Harvick. Let's see here. Capturing 2 Daytona 500 races from the most any driver had in the decade. Michael Waltrip, the younger brother of NASCAR great Darrell Waltrip, won in 2001 and 2003. Ryan Newman won in 2008. Kevin Harvick won in 2007. And Jamie McMurray did not win in the first decade of the year. So I was way off, but we all got it wrong.
Somebody did say, Brent Waltrip, I think, won 2. So Brent, your scorecard reads differently than ours, but we're all on the same team, so it doesn't matter. So 2-1.
2-1. All right. You want a Rainbow Warrior? Let's give you a Rainbow Warrior.
Okay.
Jeff Gordon won 33 NASCAR Cup races in the 2000s decade. At which track did Gordon obtain the most victories? Indianapolis, Talladega, Pocono, or Kansas? Jeff Gordon won 33 NASCAR Cup races in the 2000s decade. At which track did Gordon obtain the most victories? Indianapolis, Talladega, Pocono, or Kansas?
I say Pocono. Pocono. Jeff Gordon, 24, winning at Pocono. That's just my guess. And it's fun to say.
I actually, and I think it could be Dega. I remember Jeff Gordon winning.
Well, he just won
at
a lot.
Talladega.
He just won a lot in general. And, Nick says Gordon dominated Kansas. And so Alex says Kansas. I saw Jody coming in with Kansas. So Kansas is starting to pick up some steam in the chat.
I just remember Jeff Gordon, Talladega. Like, that's my memory.
Nick says Kansas has only been open since 2001. But that's what we're talking about, though, right? And Dustin says, my guess is Kansas too. He was the man there. I think we go Kansas because Dustin was pretty confident with number 5 and lock it in. And Jody's been on some here too. I say we go Kansas, lock it in, final A to Z.
Ah, how disappointing. Jeff Gordon solidifies his position among the NASCAR Cup's all-time greatest drivers by winning 33 races and capturing the 2001 Cup championship. Gordon won 5 times at Talladega Speedway. 2000, 2004, 2005, twice in 2007. Talladega. I knew that. I should have overridden it.
Well,
I didn't.
You didn't.
Dang.
All right. What is our non-sports question? We're currently at 2-2. So
well, we got to get this.
We have to have this. Yes.
We go to science. What has the highest atomic number of any non-radioactive element? What has the highest atomic number of any non-radioactive element? Is it iron, bismuth, lead, or polonium? Iron, polonium, bismuth, or lead? What is the highest atomic number? Is the atomic number what the number is on the chemical scale? Or is that a separate number?
What? You confused me with your question. Is it on the
element scale, right?
Yeah.
Like the chart.
The chart.
Is the atomic, and this is a question, is the atomic number how it is numbered, or is that just a separate, it's an atomic number? You know, Jake is...
We're getting polonium. We're getting a lot of poloniums.
Yeah, he's ruling out iron or lead.
I thought it was the atomic weight of the element. And I thought I remembered lead being heavy.
What's the highest atomic number of any non-radioactive element? Iron, polonium, bismuth, or lead? Yeah.
So, Robert giving us a little here says the atomic number is the number of protons plus neutrons. It's how they're ordered on the atomic table too.
That's what I'm asking, Robert.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm trying to get to what I would know, which is the chart. I don't think... I
just haven't seen the periodic table in a long time. I think it's polonium is I think we have to go with polonium. I think it was the most popular answer that we've had in the chat. Now we're getting bismuth too, but
what do you want to do? Bismuth or polonium?
I say polonium, final A to Z.
Although the next higher element, bismuth, has one isotope with a half-life that is long enough to be considered stable for all practical purposes, lead has the highest atomic number of any non-radioactive element.
Dang. I knew lead was up there, but...
That's a tough scene.
Yeah, that's bad, guys.
NASCAR and science got us today.
NASCAR and science don't mix. All right, guys, 2-3, which is not where we want to be whatsoever. We are now 9 out of...
That was one of our worst ones that we've had in a while.
Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at the periodic table in so long. I don't know, 15 years. I took chemistry when I was 15 years old. All right, guys, that'll do it for us here live on this Tuesday. We appreciate all of you guys fighting through that trivia battle with us. Don't forget to like the show before you head out. And Buck Rising will be live tonight, A to Z Sports Prime Time at 8 p.m. Central Time. Zach and I'll be back tomorrow morning on a Wednesday. Appreciate it as always.